Testing 1, 2, 3. Alright, welcome back everybody. I have another thing that I wanted to go over. And just to kind of preface, I won't go into details of what a Super Audio CD is, or any details. I do plan on probably doing some videos about that in the future. But I found out recently that this Blu-ray player that I bought at a yard sale a couple years ago at this point can actually be used to rip Super Audio CDs with a newer exploit. This one became aware to me last year, and I finally went around to actually using it, and I figured I'd do a little video showing off what you have to do that. First off, there are a few different Blu-ray players by Sony that you can use, and there's other models. We're just going to be looking at the specific one for this, the BDP-S6200, or the S6200. This was a Blu-ray player from Sony back in the day. It has multiple support, but what's really interesting to us is the fact that it can play SACDs. To kind of preface the basics of how this exploit works, is back in the day multiple devices used to use JavaScript, and this device is no different than that. This has JavaScript support on it, and what someone did was finally find an exploit that you can use at the boot up of this item using a flash drive. Kind of like this one I have right here. Not going into too much technical details, the exploit basically makes it boot up in like a sleeping server mode, I guess, and then it lets you over a network rip it with a certain program. So I'm going to switch over to my computer real quick. Alright, I'm not going to show the download process, but I have all the files ready. Basically, you'll need the program to kind of extract itself. Both these can be downloaded in a zip folder, and then there will be an auto script program you have to put on the flash drive. I have it downloaded and labeled for the specific one, because there's more than one that you need. You basically do is take the files in the zip folder, grab all of them. So on the main root of the drive, you want to make a folder called AutoScript. Make sure that you label it with that exactly, capital A-U-T-O, script. Drag the files into it, and then when you're done, you can remove the flash drive. Now, I don't know if this particular model can use the front flash drive port. There is one on the back, I believe mostly used for services. Plug it into that on the back, and then what happens was that AutoScript is a JavaScript, and it will override the settings and whatnot of the Blu-ray player. So when you plug it in, it will go into a specific mode using that code, and it's pretty straightforward. I am going to leave the instructions to the forum on there below, because there's one or two settings on this that you have to adjust. Right now I have it set up. Also, you have to make sure it's connected to your local network via LAN or wireless, like this model has support for, and then you will have to find out your network address for it. So right now it's set up, and I'll kind of show you it. Once you plug it in, it will go to boot, and it will read the files on the back of that. I'm going to use Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here for an example. You want to be ready before it boots, because as soon as it boots, it's going to read that script. It will automatically open. You will set whatever Super Audio CD you want to rip into the tray, and just leave it alone. It will automatically retract. You will hear it read, and it will just appear to be off. Don't push anything on this. Don't mess with anything. Everything is set up properly, and you have the right settings on this. You should be good to go over to your computer, and then start running the program itself. Alright, so what you want to do is open up the Java file in here. This is a Java-based program, and what you'll have to do is browse to where the SACD extract program is. For me, it is going to be in my downloads folder, once I find the right folder. And then inside there, the same folder that you have the Java, you'll have the SXE. And then inside the same folder as the JavaScript, you'll have the EXE. You want to select that and make sure it's good to go. Now, you will need to find the server address. And I believe I have mine memorized off the top of my head. This probably won't be the same for you unless you changed it for your network. And here's the part that I found kind of tricky, is you have to find out what port on it to use. I don't think it had this by default, so I kind of guessed and I looked on the forum and I found out that 2002 was a good port. There are a few other things you can do to make sure that you have it online and you're connected to a device. Hit ping, and then this will tell you if you're connected or not. So I have the wrong address. And then if you're able to ping it, then you do have the proper address and a port that it connect to. So you have a few things. We're just going to ignore these for now. And then what we want to do is select a few options down here. You can have it output to a specific directory. If you leave this blank, it will just output to this folder. So we'll output to the folder the Java program is in. Now you can select to do both a rip of an ISO or a disk image of it, and then also the DSF files or these other versions of it. For my purposes, I'm going to do DSF files. This specific SACD does stereo and then both multi-channel. I will select both. You can also print out a disk summary. It will show that when you go to rip it in this little form down here, or this little prompt console. And if we hit run, if you hear that, it actually goes and it connects to the server, or the faux server that's the Blu-ray player. And right now it's sending all the commands to rip it. And if you give it a second, it printed out all the info on this disk, and now it's starting to rip a DSF file. This is going to take a little bit because of the size of the disk, so I'm going to do a time cut. Sorry about the sound from my mouse dragging. I don't have a mouse pad at the moment. So if you realize if this actually has stereo and multi-channel on the SACD, it will create two separate folders by default, and then the Super SACDs actually have the text information that tell the info about the track and stuff, which is very useful because back in the day ripping CDs, it could be rather tiresome to have to manually enter everything if you can't get metadata from the internet. So it will make a separate folder for the multi-tracks, or the files that have multiple tracks in their thing, such as surround sound, quadraphonic depending on the release. Pretty much all of them have a stereo mix available also. Remember not to disturb the player at all while you're doing this. Don't try to bump it, don't try to unplug it. As long as this is running properly, kind of let it finish on its own. Okay, so it's done ripping, and I just wanted to go over a few things. I'm not going to rip the ISO. I'm just going to mention there's an option to rip the ISO and then the DSF files and the ISO at the same time. Basically what it would do was make an ISO file with the band's name and the album's name like this. And Windows cannot view an SACD file because it doesn't know how to view the file format. You can use certain programs to play that or the DSF files that you just ripped, such as Foobar 2000. I'm not going to show that playing right now, and just know that not every file player can play things such as DSF files or DSD based codecs. You'll have to look a little bit. Other devices that can play it are like a Sony Xperia phone or a Sony Walkman. I don't know too many non-Sony devices that support DSD, so you're going to have to look at that. You can't just play these files and ISOs on any device is what I'm trying to say. Also, for that one person that's probably going to ask, no, I'm not going to upload these files for you to download. This is my own personal thing. If anybody out there was interested in ripping their SACDs, I just kind of made this to show them this was an option now. And there is versions of this program for both Mac OS and Linux. I'm not going to show those because I don't have a setup for those to go right now. So we're just going to stick to this. And that's what I've been doing. It's pretty neat. With stereo mix, it's easy. With multi-channel mixes, you'll have to get a device that can play multi-channel. So the device is still in sleep mode with that. If you do this, it will turn on like normal. I don't know of a way to eject this without doing this and rerun the program. I've just been able to do it by unplugging and plugging the device in. I read that it's supposed to be able to do it from power off mode, but whenever I do that, it seems to just boot up like normal. So now it's completely off. So I turn it on, it's going to say load empty. Then I don't think it's going to automatically eject. Yep. So what I've had to do is make sure it's completely off, unplug it. Every time I plug it in, it automatically runs the script that lets you put it in the tray. So you just got to make sure everything's kind of ready when you go to do this, or else you might get the disc stuck in there. This is also my personal Super Audio CD, so I'm not ripping anybody else's stuff. And I think that pretty much covers everything of the basics. I'm going to link the video that I learned about this from below, and I'm also going to link some of the forum posts that I used to do this. This might be outdated by the time that you watch this. This is in earlier May of 2022, So in the next year or so, think to change, more devices could be added, there could be added steps. I'm not going to guarantee everything will stay up to date. Let me know if this worked for you, if you wanted to do this down below in the comments, and expect some more Super Audio CD videos once I get the time. Just with the way that these things work, it's not an easy video to do, and then playing music is something that is not that easy to deal with like different YouTube algorithm stuff. I'm not going to get the details of that. Alright everyone, with that all said, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you again soon.